one thing I've learned along the way is that women are a lot more likely to invest in themselves than men are, which I think is very interesting. I think that men growing up, are not taught slash raised to invest in ourselves. Whether that's getting a fucking massage, getting a fucking manicure, goddamn, getting some coaching. You know what I'm saying? We're taught, oh, do it on your own, do it on your own. But women are very quick to like take care of themselves or invest in themselves.
Now that you've gone through this process, you're learning yoga and you're getting better at it. You're seeing the differences and the changes that it makes in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So now, when do you muster up the confidence to say, you know what? I feel like I'm good enough to take a class or be able to teach a class.
Yeah.
And how was that experience?
So for the first one, to take a class, like I said, I had been doing YouTube for a while and I had moved from DC to Atlanta. And that was a point that I was in a very big transition place for me. I had been doing music and doing all that other shit I was talking about and getting away from everything that I had known for the last 9 years, the tribes I had built, connections and everything. It allowed me the space. Like I literally just sat around and read all day, bro. Like I was reading like The Flower of Life by Drunvalo Milicek. Celestine Prophecies 1 to fucking 4. Like I was just reading all this really woke shit, watching like Spirit Science when it first came out. So when I came to Atlanta, which I do firmly believe has a deep connection to Atlantis, it was a very awakening growth time for me spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So like taking a class, like I was already online. I didn't feel called to take anything while I was in DC. And coming here, I was like, I really didn't have a lot of bread. And I was just like, yo, like I'm going to jump on fucking Groupon. And I just wanted to be around people who are actually doing this shit. Because I'm seeing it online, you know, I'm taking YouTubes and shit. And I was just like, yo, I want to be around people who are actually fucking doing this shit in real life. And at that time, the only like popular places, there was probably like 4 or 5 studios in Atlanta at the time. And it was like hot yoga, you know? And it was like, I took that shit and I was like, wow, this gives me the like exhilaration that like sports gives me because it's fucking hot as shit in here. You don't really want to do it. It'd make you do all these fucking vinyasas and like you're just sweating and that heat just makes you be like, oh, do I really want to be here right now?
Yeah, and feel like you're working. You
feel like you're really fucking working, you know? So it did it for me at that time, bro. And then when you talk about teaching, what happened for me was I just felt like, literally the thought in my mind was like, yo, like yoga was very marketed towards like rich white women, right? In my mind, I was like, yo, like everybody needs this shit, but especially men. Because playing sports, I remember like stretching before a practice. It's 5 a.m. and then you grab your fucking foot. You'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next. Legs wide. 1, 2. All right, everybody in the line. Suicides. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dog, we don't spend 30 seconds. And now you asking me to run and this depends how the rest of my practice is going to go? The fuck? Like, this is crazy. So I felt in my mind, I was like, yo, like so much injuries and other things could have been avoided for athletes and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, fast forward, I'm like, yo, like if anybody can reach dudes to do this shit, it's me. Like dudes could look at me and be like, that motherfucker be doing this? Shit, I'll try it.
Yeah, because that really was one of my questions. Like, what are the misconceptions of yoga or like when it pertains to the Black community? Yeah. Why is it that we feel like it has like this certain narrative?
Because that's what's been pushed on us. Like, you ain't seen nobody but like white people do yoga. Like, for real, for real. Like, yeah, Lululemon might pay some Black people, goddamn, be ambassadors or whatever, but like yoga was pushed for years and it's not even a white thing. It's an everybody thing, but started from Africa, goddamn, went to India.
You know Talk about it. What's up? Yeah. Talk about it.
I mean, you look at the hieroglyphs, they got these motherfuckers doing yoga in the hieroglyphs from thousands of years ago, you know? It's Kemetic yoga, but I also don't really vibe on what they be on all the time. But like, I mean, I just think like Indian people took it and ran with it. you know, but a lot of yoga, like what we know is like vinyasa, stuff like that. That shit was like instilled because of like, all right, so at the time when yoga became popularized, because it wasn't like the national sport or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a very select, like cultish almost like group of people. And like people who were like very like that whole realm, like yoga in general, like what we see as yoga as like Americans is all like physical movement, right? Yoga means to yoke, which means to combine, and it's connecting mind and body through the breath. So it's really not about a physical thing. Like in the yoga Gita, man, they're gonna be mad at me because I haven't studied this shit for fucking ever. So they'll be mad at me when y'all see this online because I don't be on this shit no more, bro. I'm just about connecting people. I don't really take all the back end Sanskrit shit anymore. Yeah. But yeah, like the physical movement is actually the least talked about thing. It's really about the 8 limbs of yoga, which are like ahimsa, which is like self-harm. It's like not harming others. It's like just really living a good life, you know, living a very intentful life.
Well, how does yoga influence you spiritually? What benefits have you found personally?
Yeah.
And what do you incorporate in pretty much your work when you're working with different clients and individuals?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just being just trying your best to live with intent, man. Of like taking the time to be like, yo, what do I really want to do? What do I really want to give? You know? And like taking that time to, like you asked earlier, like what are your gifts? You know, and it's like taking that time to be aware, because I feel like just moving with more awareness, we can then choose to do different things. Most of us move very programmed, right? We've either been programmed by our parents, we've been programmed by our school, we've been programmed by our religions. There's a million ways in which we're taught that we're supposed to do certain things. My thing is that you can't change nothing about you or your surroundings unless you're aware that there's a problem. If your roof is fucking leaking, it's been leaking. It's not until that motherfucker breaks through here that you recognize that it's leaking, right? The problem's been there, right? And it ain't here. You're not seeing that shit yet.
Yeah, please. I don't want any leaks in here.
Yeah,
Please,
not
no
here.
leaks,
Like,
yeah.
wherever the wood at, we knocking. But my thing is that like without the awareness that there's a problem, you can't do nothing about it. So the practice is in building awareness, because now as you become more aware of how you speak, how you move, how you think, how you present yourself, how you move in the world around you, whatever, you can't change nothing because you just moving on autopilot. You moving on what you think you're supposed to do. You've been moving on what you've been taught to do. So you can't really choose what you really want until you're aware of what you really want. And even question, is this what I want, or am I doing what everybody else is telling me I should be doing?
Yeah, so it's like, take me back to that time where it's just like, this is what I really want. This is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I decide to make that choice and say, I'm going to teach a class. What was it like teaching your first class? What was that like?
Oh, man.
And like being in front and actually leading a group of people that actually see your vision and they believe in you.
So like a lot of people ask me, like how did like teaching get easy for me? I think a couple of things happened. I think first, my mother, like I said, she was a drama teacher, so she used to make me be in plays and shit like that at church from very young, bro. Like I was like, I can remember a bunch of stupid shit I had to do. But anyways, like that was my early introduction to speaking in front of people, right? And then fast forward, when I taught swimming lessons and shit like that, I had to teach kids. So I had to practice one teaching, but I also had to practice speaking. Right, because all the parents are watching and all that shit too. And then we did music. So, like, if you're doing an open mic, there's nothing scarier than a bunch of motherfuckers who do not care what you got to say or sing or rap or whatever the fuck. They don't care. They're here to support their friends. You're not famous. You're just trying to put your shit out, right? So that's the scariest thing. After you done talked and performed in front of people who don't care what you got going on, being around people who came for it, it's fucking night and day. It's like easy money, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, come vibe with me, man. Like, we here doing this thing. Like,
and so how was the aftermath? You did it, you finally accomplished it. Because it's one thing, of course, it's one thing with like, you know, dealing with people showing up. But then like you have a curriculum now. You have a method of how you do things and what you believe in.
For sure.
And then trying to create that influence for others. So like, how do you get people to believe in you?
Well, then I didn't have that. Back then, nobody, especially black people, did not do yoga. You know what I'm saying? So like, bro, like I would do free classes in the park, Freedom Park, in like close to like Moreland. Bro, there should be like one person on a Saturday, two people. You know, even how I started doing the trap shit. I had been teaching at a studio for a while, and I was like, yo, I can't get my people to come to yoga. Like, it's just not happening. And my boy started doing trap classes up in DC. Shout out to Brandon Copeland. I always say he was the first person to ever really do like trap yoga. There was like hip hop yoga and shit like that at the time. People did a lot of theme classes, but nobody did like trap yoga, right? And my boy did that shit. And he was doing it like a what's called rocket yoga base. It's like Ashtanga. It's like a hard kind of yoga. And I was like, I want to do it a little different. And so I came up with the term like that real ass positivity as for trap. And because that's what I feel like we do is like we want to create a space that's safe for our people to come and connect, express themselves and move themselves.
Yeah, it seems like acronyms are very big on you and being able to create that, huh?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Facts. Yet again. But yeah, man, and that was just really my goal, man. Like from when I started, I really started with the intention to get more men to do yoga. But one thing I've learned along the way is that women are a lot more likely to invest in themselves than men are, which I think is very interesting. I think that men growing up, we are not taught / raised to invest in ourselves. Whether that's getting a fucking massage, getting a fucking manicure, goddamn, getting some coaching. You know what I'm saying? We're taught, oh, do it on your own, do it on your own. But women are very quick to like take care of themselves or invest in themselves. A woman, from my experience, being a personal coach / leader, 9 out of 10 of my clients are women. You know what I'm saying? They're way more likely to invest in themselves and bettering themselves than a dude is. Which I think is why a lot of women are like bossed the fuck up these days because they're trying to go get it. They're down to learn
and see what different methods are out there to make them a better person,
absolutely.
A better version of themselves.
Absolutely.
So they're bringing it. So why do you feel like men lack in that area?
I think we haven't been taught. Like most men are raised that like if you ask for help, you're weak. You know what I'm saying? And I think that shit is lame as fuck because there's so much we can learn from each other. Like I feel like that's our goal. Like knowledge not shared is knowledge wasted.
Well, I'll tell you what, from attending your classes and being there, I feel like and this is something I always felt like I had to battle with, right? You know, because being a former athlete and then, you know, training and you're doing it majority of your life, it's like, how do you find alternatives? Identity, of course, afterwards. And then also on top of that, finding different ways and alternatives to feel like you're able to connect and take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say this, I think why I'm even starting to gravitate towards yoga is because it's something that really makes me feel like I'm in tune with myself.
Yeah.
And then that way I'm able to understand my body even more and also realize like, all right, you know what? These are the areas where I'm weak.
Yeah.
And
that's
I can find different, it is absolutely awareness and find those areas to where I need to strengthen those parts of my body.
So it's interesting because like one thing that I tell a lot of people is that like, yo, as being an athlete, right, you were taught to how to play your sport, but you were never taught how to drive your car, AKA your body. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's ever like, yeah, your shoulders rotate like this. Your legs move like this. You need strengthening this. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like that was not the norm for our generation of athletes, right? Like kids today, kids that are coming up junior high school right now, they're fucking on another level because they have access to shit that was not even a thing when we came up playing sports. You know what I'm saying? Like they got vertical jump classes. They got goddamn like all strengthening stuff for athletes. Like
They're
so much preventative.
They're evolving from the experiences
absolutely,
and mistakes.
And just lack of awareness.
True.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, you bald, you good at this, but like these kids are like I remember growing up, if you could dunk in like 9th grade, like you were the fucking man, right?
Right. It was based off of pure talent. It's those people that were just showing some amazing skill we never seen before. They didn't even have to lift a weight in their life and they're still able to.
It was
do
a gift.
Crazy. Yes, it was.
But like nowadays, these kids is jumping out the gym in 6th, 7th grade. Yeah. Why? It's like when the first person ran under a 4-minute mile.